Hello everyone, a word of warning. The first 20 minutes of this live stream there had been issues with the audio recording. Now I tried to fix this. However, if you're wearing headphones there might be unpleasant spikes in the sound. So you have been warned. To prevent this, just skip ahead about 20 minutes and it should be fine. Thank you. Alright. 3, 2, 1. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We should be live. I am Bansert of Radio Retrofuture, and today I have with me two guests from Burasmutez, a brass band from Belgium, Lane and Sanne. Hello, how are you doing?
Fine. Thank you.
So, I don't know, it's been a while since we streamed. I don't think I have anything of value to report. Of course, I'm always working on my book. I do have a new new episode of the Steampunk Beginner's Guide in production. I hope to have that done within the next 2 weeks, probably sooner. And yeah, what else do we have? Of course, we have some wonderful art by Eva Nederlof. Hopefully we'll see more of her art on the channel soon, because we are also working on more story videos of the Association of Ishtar, which I hope to have done somewhere in March. And with those announcements out of the way, let's go to our guests of Burasmutez. Yeah. Who of you wants to start and tell us a little bit about who you guys are and what you do?
Maybe we're Bazzmatazz. We're a brass band from Belgium, a steampunk brass band. We play brass band music, of course, meaning we only have drummers, percussionists, brass instruments and saxophones in the band, and one idiot waving his hands, that's me, with once in a while a bright idea. We play all kinds of music from around the world. There's influences from Balkan brass bands, from New Orleans funk brass bands and all that, but with a lot of modern influences, a lot of electronic music finding its way in there, like drum and bass or techno kind of vibes, which we translate to a brass band. And we try to make it visually and story-wise appealing by hanging a steampunk kind of outfit towards it. Not just in our costumes or decor, but we're trying to expand that in everything.
All right. So before we talk about you know, the band itself and the aesthetic, like how did you guys start with this large band? Because I can you know, it's hard for me just to find a co-writer for a video, so it must be very hard to assemble a band, because how many members do you have?
18.
18. That's a lot. That's a lot of people. So how did you guys come together and decide, okay, this is what we're going for?
Well, I think if you look at the entire cast of members of the band right now, there's been some changes over the years. We're like 5 years running now.
Oh wow!
As a brass band. So there's been, of course, numerous people who drop out because of reasons, and people who find us again. But the original cast of members, I think, came largely out of a previous band of ours called the Hood Quartet, and a brass band that had just stopped then called what was Rat Kabaibal, and a sort of funk New Orleans band called the Funk Machine. So people from like that same kind of music scene and all that had found each other on jam sessions that we threw with our music organization called the Hood Music. People found themselves regularly on these Thursday night jam sessions, and it started to become more of a large brass jam with all sorts of instruments. I think then, like, the main idea of a large improvising brass band or a large improvising fanfare sort of saw the light when we have like a big festival here where we're from in Ghent, Belgium, Weekends of Ishtar, the Ghent Festival. It's like a 10-day
I
festival where in better days, at least, we have like a 10-day party throughout the entire city. And at a certain point, they were threatening to close a bar there, a very famous jazz bar. So a whole lot of musicians came to the street and did like a massive long fanfare with about, I'm thinking like between 40 and 60 musicians all in all. And the ominousness of like that many people playing together really got us, and that kind of sparked the idea of like maybe we should have like a larger improvising ensemble to work this kind of stuff with like really ambience music, with really upbeat music, with really danceable music.
Interesting. Did the bar survive?
Yeah. What?
Did the bar survive?
Yeah, yes, it did survive. It's not open now, but no bars.
Yeah, of course. But please continue.
No, I just wanted to say, you see, Sanne is like some founding father of the Burasmutez. And then, of course, I was involved a bit later. So now, when people drop out because of all sorts of reasons, we just look for other musicians and in that way. But I think we now have a group of people who are already there for some years. But sometimes we still attract other people, new people. But it's always, they already know each other a bit, and it's also Sanne who keeps the machine working, because as you remarked.
I think I would have 3 nervous breakdowns if it wasn't for Lane helping out on the whole practical side.
Oh, I can imagine.
Because people are a bit, hard to get together for even rehearsals or whatsoever.
Yeah, 18 people will do that, yeah.
I mean, we're all musicians, and musicians, they come late, they don't finish their papers, they don't things they have to do, they don't practice enough. So
we love you.
Yeah. We all love each other. That's the most important.
Yeah. So where did the steampunk element come in? Was that something from tend to be there from the beginning, or was it something like, oh well, let's add this? How did that start?
Well, I think it wasn't really there from the first minute of Bazzmatazz, but definitely even before our first tryout gig or whatever. It hasn't really been like something that like founded the band or anything, but from the minute we were thinking about like, fanfare needs sort of an outfit, and any band I think needs something more of an identity these days. I mean, not all per se, but it's certainly is a plus if as a band you can sort of have something more than the music to build around. And it was our trombonist / designer that was with the band then. He's not in the band anymore, but he's still doing all the designs and all the artwork.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
He's a really good designer, by the way. You can look him up as Hukov. He kind of pitched the idea that he's always wanted to do something with a band and the steampunk kind of aesthetic and style. And I have to admit, like before that, I didn't even know that much about it. Before I had seen like some pictures and like, okay, yeah, that looks kind of cool. But apart from like the general visual vibe, I hadn't really thought about it. Started looking up some things, and I had to agree that it's like a style where you can do much more than just like wear some costumes or put up a decor or whatever. It's something that you can really communicate in a different way from. So I think it was like around, within the first year of our existence, before our first gig, that we decided we wanted to go for something like that, and it kind of grew on us and grew out throughout the years.
Yeah, because I got the feeling that a lot of members of the band hadn't heard about it either before. So we all are still exploring the world of steampunk, and now even more because we don't have any gigs, and we're trying to really develop now this story of the steampunk in our band more and more, so everyone's getting more and more into it, and that's kind of cool. But I think because we're a brass band, you have a lot of instruments like trumpets and trombones, and it's kind of logic that you have some kind of style that's fitting with it. And I think steampunk is fitting quite well with the brass band with the instruments.
So I'm kind of looking, because I'm not a musician myself. I know very little about music, so I'm kind of like searching. Okay, where do you want to take this conversation from here? But you talk a lot about the story, so let's delve into that a little bit, because you told me you were working together with a writer. So what has he come up with? What have you come up with? How do you go through that process?
Well, it all started a bit when we were looking at how to use like the steampunk aesthetic with the different members of the band. And all, like, we could go for like some sort of a uniform thing, everyone kind of wearing the same sort of fanfare style, where the whole fanfare will use one uniform and they all look the same. But that would kind of like, it wouldn't really speak to the different characters in the band and the different identities of people. We're all very different but very loving people. Like, it wouldn't really click with that. And when looking up more about steampunk and the kind of things in there, you notice that there are really like different like personas, and a lot of people who do the whole steampunk cosplaying things, they often choose like an actual persona that they turn into, and they build their whole costume around and all that. So that kind of started the idea of like, maybe costume-wise we should like sort of attribute a different character to everyone. So we started with like attributing a steampunk cowboy to one person, then a steampunk pirate to another. Then, for instance, is a steampunk archer. We have adventurers. We have a safari guy. All that kind of things. It started then like more from out the costumes, like so we can like dress everyone in a different way, but have steampunk be the connecting factor in that, and like really make it more of a steampunk thing, and not just like we're all celebrating Carnival.
Right. Yeah.
You have to like really have a steampunk edge with everyone, and not be just like, oh, they just threw something together, because that comes off kind of like, you tried but close with no cigar.
Right.
Started a bit with those costumes, and then we started thinking like, okay, seeing as how everyone has this kind of persona, and I think it's really important that you communicate as a band from a certain mindset, and you make sure your communication and how you connect with your audience, for instance on social media, but also during a show, and also with the music you make, with the artwork you create, that it's always like that it's kind of connected to each other, that it's kind of one story. We figured it might be cool to use the actual writing and the story aspect of steampunk as well, and like make sure that every character in the band, every kind of different persona, has his own backstory that kind of comes together in one bigger story about Burasmutez or the Bazzmatazz. So I can't give too much away already from the actual storyline that's coming up, because we're still developing that, of course. But main thing about that is there's one underlying story that drives us all, that drives us to become kind of this organization, this band that makes sure we all find each other in the story, that like everyone's backstory as a persona kind of relates to the person itself, like in real life as well. Because we're a band of musicians, we're not really actors, so it wouldn't really fit to like go ask everyone to act out an entire persona on stage. It probably wouldn't really work out, and I'd probably get negative reactions from some musicians as well. We're like, I want to make music. I do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
because we kind of need to like, connect with the people themselves, so that we can really bring out the story in everything that we do. Right now we're working together with a writer here in Ghent called Nick. He's writing up backstories, he's writing up the bigger story, and we're looking for a way to make this as interactive and participatory as possible, so that it's not really just we tell a story in the fictional world and we're also a band in the real world, but they kind of intertwine, so that the fictional story tells our actual story as a band, but in a more imaginative steampunk way. It describes people as they are, but in a more steampunk, imaginative, fictive way. And everything that we will be doing as a band, every project that we try to do, we're gonna try to like take that up in the story. We're gonna make it a part of the story that we're telling.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it's useful to talk a little bit about the musical inspirations. You already named a bunch of genres you want to be inspired by, or are inspired by rather. But are there like also like specific numbers you play that are like, okay, this is this is a steampunk story or steampunk sound?
I've always found it difficult. Oh, Lynn, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I don't think our music is really in this genre being steampunk, I think. It's more, I think it's more the way we try to use the influences from like everywhere that makes it quite unique, our sound. But I wouldn't say that our music is really this steampunk sound. Or would you, Sanne?
Well, I've always wondered how we would find steampunk music, because like everything I read about that is like, well, there's not really one set thing you can call steampunk music. You can talk about like taking modern influences and like fusing them with older styles. For instance, like a lot of people think things like electro swing, for instance, it's really steampunk, or Balkan beats, because that like takes more traditional forms of music and fuses them with a modern electronic.
Berlinski beat, I think, is Balkan-esque. I don't know if you know them.
Yeah, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of all things Balkan beats. I had a band, Gatjes Come, for a few years, who does a lot of Balkan beats kind of things. But like you could define our music as steampunk as being like we take more modern sounds, like styles like drum and bass and techno and all that kind of things, and we try to translate that into a sort of older traditional idiom as a brass band. So if you're playing like modern drum and bass tunes in a brass band setting, that's also fusing the modern with the traditional.
Well, that is, I mean, how I would define steampunk is like the combination of the historical with modern pop culture, rather pop culture tropes. One of you responded to the Steampunk Beginners episode on steampunk music. Which of you was that?
Yeah. That was me.
Yeah. So.
Quick look throughout.
Yeah, and there's this statement by Montague Jacques Fromage. Oh, he is quoted by Xerxes Hort in the video that steampunk. There is no such thing as steampunk music, but there is music that steampunks like.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think like if you have like a sort of. It's more of a style that comes from like writing from literature and visual storytelling and all that. Before it was an actual like thing to have like steampunk bands and steampunk music. For instance, things like a band like Abney Park takes a lot of like things from steampunk as well, and they also fuse modern sounds with older traditional sounds. But if they didn't have that visual and literary steampunk background, they would still be a cool band making cool music, and people would call it completely differently, I think.
Yeah. I think the aesthetic element, genre-wise, I think I'm working on this kind of hypothesis right now that there is this difference between the creators and the consumers, that they need each other, but they're the consumers only look at the final product, which is the combination of the aesthetics, and the creatives are oh, let's just throw stuff together and see what works, and the audience will come. And I think that in that regard, steampunks are just like their costumes have a thrown together array of tastes that combine in this weird, like, oh yeah, we have this strange. Oh, your audio apparently is super quiet. Let me raise it. Oh wait, I can raise it here. Can you give me a test?
Testing.
Oh, here is something strange. Yeah, exactly. But now I notice that my desktop audio is not recording for some reason. Let me see what's going on here. Properties. Usually it doesn't have a problem. Okay, let's see. Can you say something, please?
Hello.
All right, that should be a lot better now, I hope.
It's probably best for your viewers. They didn't hear all my bullshit from before. So.
Oh, okay. All right. So that should be a lot better. Please let me know in the chat. I also have recorded this, so if the music is really a problem, I can edit it and repost it with louder audio. Hopefully, I hope I don't have to edit my own audio then, because that would take me a lot of work. Yeah, let's see. So we were talking about the aesthetics and steampunk being thrown together a lot of ideas.
I also think maybe because I've recently had to, I'm trying to apply for a sort of government grant to do this whole thing with our personas, to build it out more and to work together with more creatives around this, to really put together a team with a graphic coordinator, someone making a website, the writer. So I've had to sort of think about what that actually means. And I think that kind of defines the punk character about steampunk, is that the point is that they're I went to a lot of punk gigs, for instance, and went around in that scene a lot. And there it's also as well, after a while, you see a lot of blasé people saying, that's not punk, for instance.
Yeah.
And I think you can have that maybe, I don't know, but maybe you'll have that with steampunk as well. This is steampunk and this is not. While the whole thought process behind something being punk is there not being any rules. That's why it's not like steampunk needs to be historically accurate for any reason whatsoever, for instance, because it's punk, it's steampunk, it's not bound to any rules.
Yeah, it's not reenacted.
I might be wrong in that, but for me, that's what for me, that's one of the things that's cool about the term, is that you can really do your thing with it without it having to be set in any rules and without there being any faux pas about it.
Yeah, well, when it comes to the term itself, I wished they gave it a different name, but that's another discussion. But for me, I watch it as a framework, because, well, first of all, for me, if it wasn't obvious already from the beginner's guide, for me,
I like it. I like the name. I think.
Leen, I think you're dropping away a bit.
Yeah. You're maybe you should reconnect for a moment. It tends to help. But for me, steampunk has three meanings. You have got the aesthetic, you've got the community, and you've got the stories. Or did I repeat now? Anyway, for me, it's it has three definitions rather than one. So it's more of a framework that I use. Because, well, when you're making a steampunk beginner's guide, I think I have a kind of responsibility to at least be very clear about what I'm talking about. And that's one of the things I have with the discussion surrounding steampunk. What are you really talking about when you say steampunk? I wish people were in conversations more clear about it. I feel that I'm repeating my view of steampunk ad nauseum, but I feel if I don't do it, people don't know what I'm talking about. So Yeah, but are you very active in the steampunk community? Because I don't know much about the Belgium community in that regard. Like I know one or two groups from there, but that's about it.
Well, probably relatively to other people, not at all. But I'd say I'm like sort of finding my way in there more, also more as a representative of the band as well. And like, yeah, over the years, I've become more and more interested in it, like all different aspects of it. So I'm trying to like look into like definitely also internationally people who are interested in there, what kind of drives them and what makes them interested in there, so I can like sort of incorporate that in what we do. I have to say I don't have a lot of knowledge about, for instance, a Belgian steampunk community and people active in that in here. I know that there's like one or two Facebook groups where I see some people from Belgium, a lot of people from the southern French-speaking part. So maybe I should learn some better French then. But
we've got Captain Glenwell. He also has a YouTube channel. He's from Belgium, from Flanders. And I think, if I recall right, their group is called Steam Nation.
I've come across those. Yeah, I think they're from Antwerp.
Yeah. That's very possible.
Just
you can see it, but I'm currently drinking Gulden Draak.
Bon appetit.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's sweeter than I remember. But anyway. Let's see where we went with this conversation. We talked about the aesthetics of the band. We talked a little bit about the music of the band and where you get your inspiration from. So you already talked a little bit about the future. Good evening, Cyberpunk Warrior. We also have those present here in the chat. With that being said, like what's for the future? You already talked a little bit about incorporating the story. What else have you like? If resources and things like that were not an issue, let's say you get your government grant, what would you guys want to do?
Well, the main plan for that is as I said, bringing a lot of people from different artistic branches together. And kind of having them create the storyline and everything around it together with us. So as I said, it's like something that people influence each other in, and also the audience can influence us in the development of this story. So someone will of course start with like writing up a story and some backstories. But then, for instance, a graphic coordinator will become involved. There's people who are going to make animations of us. It's like going to be like more of a really video game-wise character design thing with animated figures from us that we can use in all kinds of things. But then also the music, song titles, maybe certain lyrics and all will all kind of like be more aimed towards the storyline and kind of evolve with them. And we'd love to find very different ways to also involve the audience more in a live and an online manner. So, for instance, we'll launch like part of the story. We can have people react on that and give their input, and they will actually help create the story. There's, of course, also going to be someone putting up a notch on our costumes, making some new decor pieces. It's going to be someone who does a new website that's going to be hopefully more interactive and more steampunk-wise. People, are actually like all kinds of different aspects on what we do, musically, show-wise. Also like the whole theater kind of aspect of our show, kind of take that up a notch, but make it something that like influences each other. Like someone working on our costumes will maybe add an attribute, and the writer can sort of write that in his story and make it kind of an important part of the story again. Someone building our decor might build a huge machine, and that machine can be part of a story and be taken up in the illustrations that someone makes. So that's sort of the end goal, that it's a lot of people from different creative branches influencing each other around this Bazzmatazz storyline.
All right. Well, if you should let me know how you do it, because I'm looking for all those things too. So one thing maybe interesting to touch upon, like I had a number of bands and musical artists on the show. But you guys are a brass band. I imagine that brings a number of very specific issues or hurdles that smaller bands do not have. What is one of the biggest challenges you face with a brass band?
Me personally, getting everyone on regular rehearsals and on time, I think. But that's just mainly my worry, as I'm sort of like the band leader and booker and composer and director. All those things kind of like take in their very specific kind of tasks. I mean, we have a very good system to make this all work. We don't need to be all 18 at every gig, for instance. We can vary between a minimum of 10 people plus me, so 11 in total, until a maximum of 18 people. So everything in between that we can work with. Usually we're around 15 to 18 people at a gig. But that makes it already a bit easier to book gigs for. But yeah, in general, even before this period that you can't really play live anymore, it's always difficult to get a bigger band booked at like regular gigs that also, also bring in enough to be able to get everyone there, to be able to pay everyone a bit well. It's always a challenge. I think anyone managing a band with more people or a brass band will concur that it's really not an easy task to get regular gigs for a bigger band. Well, let's hope maybe after this dry spell of gigs that everyone's going through Corona, maybe people will want more bigger bands on a stage, because they haven't had that for a while. Yeah. It's even hard to get a live stream together with a band that size. So,
yeah. You guys are organizing a live stream in a while. When was it?
It's 27th of March, and if all goes well, it will be 8:30 Central European Time. That we're streaming from a studio with all costumes and decor that we can, and yeah, it's been already. I'm glad that I found a studio big enough that we can play safely in, because safety is, of course, an issue in these days. We're a big band. We don't want an outbreak even in our own band. So we needed to find something big enough to place 18 people at 3 meters apart from each other.
Oh, is it
Luckily, there's a good studio like that in Ghent here.
So yeah. Yeah, man, we're living in strange times, but what can I say? Speaking of combining our efforts, if you don't forget to post a link in our Discord, so I know what you guys are doing. And for those who are looking for a creative community of people, please join the Discord. A link is down in the description of this video. And if and while I'm also promoting myself, also go check out our own story universe if you want to have my take on steampunk, and of course, hopefully we'll have other writers participating on the Association of Ishtar universe as well. A friend of mine is working on one story. However, she has also been struggling with her health, unfortunately. But I'm looking forward to her contribution. So yeah, that being said, where were we? So we talked a little bit about the future, about what you guys want. Is there are there any specific influences you have when you are composing your music?
It's always a difficult one. I think for me that's kind of like really dependent on the mood. Of course, not all music is by me. There's a lot of songs by our past trumpeter, Moran Landat. who wrote more of the funk, New Orleans funk kind of things. And there's other people writing stuff as well. Lane actually just wrote a song that we're going to start rehearsing soon. Other members regularly send me through some ideas that I start working together with them on to make a full arrangement. But I think for me, I always try to do something in every tune that I write that I haven't done before. So it can be style-wise, I like a lot of world music, so it can be a style from somewhere around the world, a Latin American style I haven't really tried a lot with once, or a Balkan principle that I haven't worked with yet, or a more modern kind of thing, for instance, different kinds of sounds around drum and bass and dubstep, and kind of the more effect kind of brass sounds that you can work with there to sort of translate that into a brass band. But I always also try to not stick to one style, to at least go fusing some things in a song, fusing a few styles and making sure that it has that it doesn't stray every which way, because there is such a thing as at least I think so, there is a thing as the Bazzmatazz sound is more aggressive horns, more chaotic things. I mean, if you check out scores of us sheet music, sometimes it doesn't say any notes anymore, but it just says losgehen, just go crazy on the part instead of any notes anymore. And I'll try to get across towards the musicians this is where you just swell on and just make some sounds until we're at a plateau or something.
Is that a professional way of working, of just saying make noise, or?
Sorry, again?
Is that a professional phrase, just make noise on the notes, or?
Well, you probably have some sort of ancient Italian term for it, But yeah, I think that's sort of influence you get as well from we're tooting our own horn here, pun intended, but Ghent is a pretty diverse musical city as well, where you have a very well built out world music scene, and a lot of people doing things with brass music. There's colleagues of us, for instance, Naft, who are really doing great things with brass band covers of electronic music here as well. But at the same time, there's a really underground, cool kind of noise rock and noise punk scene, and people really making drone music and stuff like that. I work at a music center just around my corner here, and I love that about working there in normal days, at least, that I can just walk into my workplace and discover something completely new. And I think all of those influences kind of influenced how I like to write music myself for a thing a quite traditional thing like a brass band as well. So I don't know if it's an official term, make noise, but more people should write it on sheet music.
All right. Elaine, are you also working in your daily job in music, or do you do something completely different?
I'm doing. Do you hear me now?
Yes, I hear you.
I had a bit of problems. Yeah, okay. I'm doing something completely different. I'm a PhD student in history, medieval history.
Okay.
So I am during the day. I'm with my nose in the books and in the archives and stuff like that. But music has, of course, always been a passion of mine. And I think to play with Burasmutez in a band like Bazzmatazz, it's so much fun. And it's especially because what Sanne said, it's very diverse what we do. I mean, no song is the same. And I also hear it from friends who are in the audience. They say it's never boring, or you never think it's a bit all of the same for an hour, because our music is so different every time. And that's one. It's of course Sanne who contributes very well to that, but we all have our influence on it. I think everyone has his own style. Everyone we do a lot with solo parts in the music, and that you also he also it's very obvious that everyone has his own style, and that makes every song very different. Also, Sanne is the one who picks people that play the solo, and he chooses quite randomly, I think, or maybe he has a plan. We never know, but
but mostly not. No.
mostly not.
That's the whole, yeah.
Yeah, it always surprises, and it can make the song totally different if I play a solo or one of the saxophonists play a solo. It makes it another song, and every time it's another song, and that's what makes it really cool.
All right. Are there any other, because we've talked a lot about music now, is there any other like particular form of media you enjoy, like movies or video games?
I do like watching movies a lot, but I have to say I've like recently during this whole lockdown binge watched about everything in the world. So I've started like checking out some more steampunk movies and then animated movies kind of things. But I think I've only just actually scratched the surface on that. So if you have any tips or pointers on you definitely need to watch these and these movies, I'd love to hear them. I have nothing but time to spend at a screen now anyway. So.
Yeah. Well, for those who are interested, on my Discord, I try to organize movie nights where we watch like movies relevant to steampunk, but also science fiction in general. So you're welcome to join us in that. Recently, somebody suggested a movie to watch. I have not watched it yet. I recently did a review on The Secret Garden from 2017, an indie production. And I want to do a podcast, but I'm still kind of looking around for people to do it with. To talk about like movies random, well, not so much random, but relevant to retrofuturism in general. So if you enjoy talking about movies, let me know. Just check out, if you look for my series Steampunkish, I talk about various forms of media that are steampunk related.
I really like to read a lot, books. Mm-hmm. And I mean, not so much. I also like graphic novels and stuff, but I mean, real books, I really like them. And I don't know, maybe the same question. Yeah. Maybe the same question. Do you have any tips on books that are really in this steampunk world? That
I have not checked out that many steampunk books, to be honest. I couldn't finish The Difference Engine, which is the first book that's really written as a steampunk yet. I'm really looking for a audiobook of that. I really enjoyed the audiobook of The Guns Above. I like the audiobooks. I'm dyslexic, so I don't read much at all, so it's kind of weird that I'm writing so much. Let's see. The Guns Above I really enjoyed. There is Gary Gallagher has the Parasol Protectorate series. I like her earlier books. It's very whimsical, but it's kind of interesting. At least the earlier books I found interesting. The later books I didn't enjoy as much. Let's see, what else do I find interesting? I'm really exploring the world of audiobooks now, but because I'm writing my own book currently, I am looking for beta readers, by the way.
Cool.
I am listening to a lot of historical works currently, and one of the books I'm also really looking forward to listening are the Expanse books, because I really love the sci-fi series. So, yeah.
A lot of books.
So yeah, but I'm a more of a podcast person, so I listen to a lot of podcasts. If you're into that type of thing, I really recommend, if you enjoy the Warhammer 40k universe, at least, If the Emperor Had a Text-to-Speech Device, because it's great comedy. But yeah. So that was my 2 cents on that topic. Now I do recall something from the Discord where you posted your videos that Musical Wizardry responded to the video you posted about you guys needing more contrabass. Is that something you intend to do, or?
I think because also like a lot of the compositions, a lot of the songs were really written for like the full bezitting, the full lineup actually of a bass tuba, baritone sax, and then it goes up and up and up. I think like adding a contrabass tuba will add to anything. I'd love to do something with them, but like they are very, very rare.
Okay.
To start with, like you could go for a bass saxophone. The colleagues of ours from Ghent Naf that I mentioned, they have a bass saxophone, which is already really cool. You can go for a contrabass saxophone, but I wouldn't even know if there are any in Belgium, because like that and a contrabass tuba even it's hard to find. Like even just the instrument, let alone someone who plays it. And then you need to find someone who wants to take that on a stage and carry it. So like,
or wants to march with it to the
or
street.
wants to march around with it. It's already. I'm already like very compassionate about our baritone sax players and our tuba players because they are already like carrying around. How many kilos of brass is that you've got in your head?
A lot.
It's already not a very light instrument. I mean, I'm just. Yeah, all I need to do is make sure my hat stays on and wave my arms around a bit. So I'm cool. I think like Lane is also like with a trumpet, it's still okay to carry around.
It's very okay.
Yeah, with the larger instruments, they're already like our bass drummer as well. They're already pretty, pretty heavy on the back. So I think a contrabass tuba in a marching band might just be pushing your luck.
But it would be very cool. I mean, to to have one. If someone wants to do it, why not?
Yeah, if someone wants to do a guest tune with us with a contrabass tuba or a contrabass saxophone, I'll write something for it.
Definitely.
All right. That reminds me. That's something I want to ask. Like, how does the combination of your costumings and instruments go? Is that something that's is okay? Because I also had a conversation with the guy from the Steampunk Beginner's Guide on Steampunk Music with Pretorius Horde, who are also using heavy costumes in their music videos and stuff. But it's like a real hassle on stage. Is that something you have problems with during the performance?
Yeah, well, I remember when we were making these costumes and everyone was like adding stuff and this would be cool and this would be cool. And the first gig we played with the costumes, everyone was like, okay, I need to change this. I need to get rid of this because it's not possible. Oh, this mask, no, it doesn't go with my mouthpiece. And I mean, everyone had to rearrange something just to be able to play their instrument again.
Yeah, it's kind of more and that kind of like just dropped away halfway through the gig. So, but I think in general right now we are more like conscious of that. If we're like doing new things at our costumes and we're recreating them, like we're always thinking, like, for instance, right now for the instrument for the interview here, I have like some gear over my conductor's jacket. But normally I'll put them under that, and this jacket will stay on for a maximum of one song. So I've got like the I don't know if you see it, the brass.
Yeah.
But I have the same up in the thing underneath, so I can just take it off, throw it off, and be like, okay, people saw the jacket. That's enough. Because really jumping around for an hour with this jacket on is like it's killer. So we kind of like made them so that we can play in winter if need be, that we can be warm. But we still got an alternative and we got things to take out and it'll all still look cool and steampunk if we're not wearing jackets. And that's you've got enough movement. Like, for instance, anyone playing a wind instrument has got like room to breathe. I remember our first person we worked with for the costumes was like, maybe you should go for a corset towards
Yeah,
our
that will work great, yeah.
She was like, no, help. So yeah, no corsets with us.
Yeah, I heard they're really popular in steampunk, but yeah.
Yeah, but not so popular for wind instruments.
There are a lot of steampunk musicians though who do wear corsets, but maybe they have them like, I don't know how they do it, or if they attach them as they're meant to go. Yeah.
Any musicians wearing corsets? How do you do it? Because like
But
most people need to breathe.
Don't go full. I mean, you can wear it without making it fully operational, or I think that's the way to do it. Otherwise.
All right. I think I'm running out of questions. Is there something you in particular still want to talk about tonight?
I think it was a very interesting conversation. And I'd like to invite anyone to go check out our music, check out our videos. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Bandcamp. Bandcamp rocks. You can look for us on Spotify as well, but look for us on Bandcamp. It's better. And anyone who wants to see a live show anywhere in the world can tune in 27th of March. It's going to be around 8:30 European time.
All right. Yep. I put the link of their website down in the description and in the video down here as well. Of course, if you want to stay in contact, please join the Discord where all the guests are at. And I also try to arrange, creative cooperation on there. I really should promote my Discord more. I'd make merchandise myself. But yeah, if you want to meet all these people, please join the Discord. Link is down in the description. And with that, let's go to always my final question for my guests is, do you have some words of wisdom to share with the world?
I am not known as a wise person. I mean, Lane is the PhD here, so...
What shall I say? Words of wisdom. I will relate them to our band. I think one of the nicest things a reviewer said about us is, if you want to feel happy, just listen to the album of Burasmutez. So maybe that's a wise thing in these times. Try to listen to our music. Maybe better.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, to my guests, of course, thank you for being here with us tonight. For those who are watching us live, thank you all for being there. If you want to ask questions after the show, please consider joining the Discord. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to have our take on the steampunk genre, please check out the Association of Ishtar. I have a comic book in production and, of course, a book that I'm working on. It's also the reason why I'm so absent on YouTube as of late. If you want to see preview takes on that, I post them in the Discord. And what else did I... Yes, and a Steampunk Beginner's Guide video is in production, and I'm really enjoying getting back on working on one of those. If you have suggestions for next videos you want me to work on, please let me know. I do respond to those. And with that being said, I wish you all a Joe, and as always, make things your way. Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night.